Hello, this is Professor Silverman for Philosophy 326. Today we're going to do a little analysis of Les Miserables, our final movie discussion of the course. Three topics I want to hit. First one is going to be the fact that this is a musical. Unlike the other movies we watch, this one is almost entirely sung to us. One of the cool things about a musical, or actually two things that are distinctive about musicals, is it makes it easier for the people telling the story to accomplish two things. One, it enables them to tell us exactly what's going on in the character's inner monologue, what exactly they are thinking. In a traditional movie, since we only see people's external actions, we don't get to know 100% accurately what they're thinking. And sometimes characters lie to us, sometimes they act for the sake of other characters. It's very interesting and difficult to communicate what characters are really thinking. Interestingly, one of the media venues that is best at showing that was actually the sitcom The Office. If you watch it, the nonverbals and the facial expressions were very important for communicating what was really going on in people's minds in that show. And that was their solution to how to communicate inner monologue without just singing exactly what's going on in somebody's head. So first, it makes it easier to sort of depict the true characterization of the people in the movie through this direct, complete, honest inner monologue. And second, it makes it easier to tie scenes together by echoing musical themes. Again, probably the most famous version of this happened in the movie Jaws, where you don't have to see the big shark. All you have to do is hear the ominous music, and you know what's going to happen. Much in the same way, in these musicals, you can tie themes together by just playing the same theme. Now, most often this happens with just using the same music for the same repeated character, but sometimes they tie scenes together that I wouldn't have tied together if you listen to the score and the undertones of the music. So I encourage you to go back and just listen to it with strictly a musical ear sometime. All right, so that's my quick comments on the nature of it being a musical. Let's talk about the philosophies. There are three main philosophies offered in this musical. First, that of Javert. Javert is an ethical deontologist who believes in moral duty. He is the essence of completely strict duty-based ethics, no matter what the consequences are. I'd say it's a little bit unfair to Immanuel Kant to say that he's strictly a Kantian deontologist, but he's a kind of overly strict moralist. And we see those historically both in secular ethics and in religious ethics. In religious ethics, it looks like someone who is ultra strict follower of the law. And this metaphor is used several times for Javert. He follows the law, which both refers to the moral law in sort of secular Kantian deontology, but it also can refer to the Old Testament Mosaic law, the strict Ten Commandments and moral rules that were associated with Old Testament Judaism. And he is portrayed as this inflexible and ultimately kind of uncaring moral ethicist. In contrast, Jean Valjean is depicted by what is called religious love, agapic love. And it's this non-sexualized love for everyone. So he cares for the stranger who's mistaken for him, that was going to spend years in prison unjustly fulfilling Jean Valjean's prison sentence. I'll also point out that in story, this is a little bit of a ridiculous plot twist because there was a tattoo with 24601, the prisoner's number on it. So there's no way that someone should have been accidentally mistaken for another if they didn't have the tattoo. But, this is something that's kind of glossed over for plot purposes. But again, Jean Valjean's willing to sacrifice himself, risk himself for this person. He's willing to try to make amends to Fantine and make a very sacrificial decision to raise her child as his own. He's willing to risk revealing his identity by showing how strong he is by pulling the ox cart off off the worker that the ox cart was crushing. He's willing to risk himself for Marius. He's willing to risk himself by releasing Javert. It's shown that religious love is sort of better than just strict ethics of a duty-based ethics where the right thing is always simple. And in this more flexible view of agapic love, you want to be connected to others, and you want to help them and serve them largely in any way possible. Now, one important restriction that religious love usually adds is that breaking moral spiritual principles is very bad. So you don't want to sort of encourage somebody down an immoral path where certain actions are likely to lead to bad things for them. This in some versions is called fraternal correction, the idea that one of the kindest things you can do for somebody is to pull them aside and say, hey, I see you're thinking about doing this thing, and that's morally bad and destructive to you. So it isn't this simplistic utilitarian version of trying to get the right results. It does care about the results more than deontology, but it doesn't become this sort of rudderless, unjust, just do whatever it takes to get the right results. So those are the main two, but there's a third one people sometimes miss. The innkeeper, Thénardier, is depicted as a skeptic, a moral skeptic, and in some versions of the story, he's also depicted as a religious skeptic. The idea that skepticism, kinds of skepticism kinds of go together. You think there's no moral truths because you don't think there's really any truths other than look out for number one, is the idea there. And it's no mistake that he's kind of the comic relief. He's a viewpoint to not be taken very seriously according to the movie. All right, so those are our three major worldviews we're given, ethical views we're given. Finally, the revolution. There's kind of two main views on revolution. One is by John Locke, which we talked about, wherever things are systematically worse off in the current civilized state of things, that there is a right to revolution. And this is what the students and Marius tried to invoke, this right to revolution. But there's also a warning, not just by Hobbes, but by many thinkers, that the order of law and order is a good in and of itself, and that ought not to be discarded lightly for several reasons. For one thing, your revolution might not work. It might just be put down and end up with lots of extra dead people. Or it might succeed. And to quote Batman, this might be a story where you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become a villain. Let's not forget that the Russian Revolution under Lenin happened promising great equity. Many Marxist revolutions promise, fair treatment, more rights, and often they end up with a story like someone like Stalin or Mao eventually coming to power, who kills more people than even a regular tyrant or unjust system would have. So there's often a warning within philosophical thinking that just because something's unjust doesn't mean it's smart to just upend the whole order of things, unless you can be assured that you're going to have a better resolution. Even St. Augustine says, yes, there is such a thing as just war, but one of the components of just war theory is you should have a pretty good chance of thinking you should be able to succeed, and succeed in a way that doesn't have lots of undesirable consequences where lots of extra unjust deaths and stuff happen along the way. And in war, it becomes unpredictable. All right, well, that's my short analysis of Les Miserables. I look forward to our Zoom call tomorrow. I've enjoyed doing these videos for you. I hope you've had a great course. Read the announcements today and tomorrow, and take the exam. Get me your final paper. I hope it's been a good course for you. Take care.